In 1987, Michael Jackson performed a move on date that physicists said was impossible. He leaned advanced 45-degree, held the position for several seconds, then returned cocked as if force didn't exist. What audiences didn't apperceive was that this wasn't aloof choreography. It was the after effect of an abstruse invention that took 3 years to absolute and nearly killed him during testing. Afore we reveal the absurd accuracy abaft this legendary move, accomplish abiding to hit that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up and let me apperceive in the comments if you've any time approved to recreate Michael's angular at home. Trust me, you're about to accept why it's impossible. Now, let's bear the mystery. The adventure begins in 1984, backstage at Madison Square Garden during the Victory Tour. Michael Jackson had aloof accomplished assuming Billie Jean when Article Amazing happened. As he took his final bow, his shoe got caught on a apart floorboard. Instead of falling advanced like any accustomed person would, Michael somehow managed to lean at an absurd angle, authority the position, and afresh calmly return upright. The admirers went wild, thinking it was allotment of the show. But Michael knew he had stumbled onto something revolutionary. That night, alone in his auberge room, Michael spent hours aggravating to charm what had happened. He would angular advanced, until he felt himself about to fall, afresh try to hold the position. Every time, gravity won. Every time he had to footfall forward or abatement collapsed on his face. But Michael Jackson was not a man who accepted limitations. If he had accidentally defied force once, he was determined to do it afresh on purpose. The problem was simple, in theory, but seemingly impossible in practice. The animal body's center of force is amid, almost in the lower torso. Aback you angular forward, that centermost of force moves aloft your base of support, your feet. Already that happens. You either accept a footfall forward, or you fall. It's basal physics. It's unavoidable. Or so anybody thought. Michael became obsessed. He consulted with biomechanics experts, physicists, even NASA engineers who formed on astronaut training. They all told him the aforementioned thing. What he capitaled to do was physically impossible. The animal body simply couldn't advance that position without alien support. But Michael had eyes that went beyond conventional thinking. The breakthrough came aback. Michael was watching his own children comedy in the backyard at Neverland. Prince and Paris were playing a bold area they would angular against each added a back to back, afresh try to walk advanced while advancement contact. Michael noticed that as continued as they maintained that affiliation point, they could accomplish angles that would be impossible individually. That's when inspiration struck. What if the support didn't accept to be visible? What if he could actualize a affiliation amid his body and the date that the audience couldn't see? Michael anon called his longtime assistant Dennis Tompkins, the adeptness apparel artist who had created a bounding of his best iconic outfits. Their chat that day would advance to one of the best closely guarded secrets in entertainment history. The aboriginal prototypes were crude. Tompkins experimented with magnetic systems. Cerebration they could embed able magnets in Michael's shoes and agnate magnets in the stage floor. The aboriginal tests were disasters. The alluring coal was either too anemic to abutment Michael's weight or so able that he couldn't abstract his feet from the floor. During one particularly agitated test, Michael was yanked advanced so adamantine by the magnets that he comatose into a bank and needed 3 stitches aloft his larboard eyebrow. But abortion alone motivated Michael more. He and Tompkins formed, in secret, building a clandestine testing adeptness in a warehouse al fresco Los Angeles. They experimented with cable systems, hydraulic mechanisms, alike pressurized air supports hidden below stage floors. Anniversary arrangement had baleful flaws. Cables were arresting to audiences. Hydraulics were too loud. Air systems were capricious and dangerous. The solution, aback it assuredly came, was elegantly simple and ingeniously hidden. Tompkins advised what appeared to be an accustomed brace of dress shoes, but embedded in the heel of Anniversary shoe was a specially advised slot. This aperture was precisely angled to bolt a baby peg that could be hidden in the date floor. The peg was alone about an inch alpine and thin abundant to be about airy to audiences, alike those in the advanced row. But the absolute adeptness was in the engineering of the aperture mechanism. It wasn't a simple hook. Tompkins had created an adult locking system that would appoint automatically when Michael stepped aback into position, hold firmly during the lean, and release smoothly aback he was accessible to return upright. The absolute arrangement was spring-loaded and counterbalanced so perfectly that Michael could ascendancy it entirely through attenuate movements of his feet. The Aboriginal acknowledged analysis took abode on a Tuesday night in March 1987. Michael stepped back, acquainted the mechanism engage, took a abysmal breath, and leaned forward. For the Aboriginal time in 3 years of trying, he accomplished the impossible. He was aptitude at a 45-degree angle, his analysis defying every law of physics that audiences understood, held perfectly still for bristles abounding seconds. When he alternate upright, he looked at Tompkins with tears in his eyes. They had done it. They had created magic. But Michael wasn't annoyed with just making the move possible. He capitaled to make it perfect. They spent months refining every detail. The engagement had to be bashful and instantaneous. The lean had to attending effortless and supernatural. The absolution had to be smooth abundant that audiences would never suspect automated assistance. Michael practiced the move bags of times, developing the absolute bottom movements and analysis succession that would accomplish the impossible attending inevitable. The public debut came during the bland criminal segment of the Moonwalker Blur. In 1987, Michael had absentatively that this move needed an absolute setting, a moment of pure affecting impact. As the music reached its climax, Michael and his backup dancers all leaned advanced in perfect synchronization, captivation the pose as audiences about the world gasped in disbelief. The move lasted only a few abnormal on screen, but it became one of the best iconic moments in entertainment history. What audiences didn't apperceive was that they were witnessing the acme of years of secret engineering and endless hours of practice. Every ballerina had been fitted with the appropriate shoes. Every stage had been absolutely adapted with hidden pegs positioned absolutely where each aerialist would be standing. The timing had to be perfect. Too Aboriginal and the apparatus. Adeptness not a point properly. Too backward and the music would move past the affecting moment. The behind-the-scenes alertness for each performance was extraordinary. Michael's crew would access hours before showtime to install the hidden pegs. Anniversary peg had to be positioned oral millimeter precision. The date attic had to be tested to ensure it could abutment the lateral armament created by multiple performers' aptitude simultaneously. Backup pegs were installed in case of equipment failure, admitting Michael never needed them. But the best incredible part was Michael's achievement during the angular itself. While audiences saw supernatural grace, Michael was actually managing an abundantly circuitous physical maneuver. He had to foot-fall aback precisely, ensuring both anxiety affianced properly. He had to ascendancy his breath and maintain absolute aspect while fighting against gravity. He had to time his return to cocked position with the music. And he had to accomplish it all look effortless. The move became Michael's signature, actualization in live performances of bland criminal around the world. Anniversary area presented unique challenges. Outdoor stages had to be specially complete to adumbrate the mechanism. Indoor arenas required careful planning to ensure the pegs could be installed after damaging permanent flooring. Some venues initially banned to acquiesce the modifications. Not compassionate why Michael bear such specific stage preparations. Added performers tried desperately to charm the move. Videos surfaced of celebrities attempting the lean and falling, collapsed on their faces. Dance advisors created tutorials explaining why the move was impossible. Physics advisors acclimated Michael's lean as a classroom archetype of centermost of gravity principles, but no one could replicate it because no one knew the secret. The abstruseness deepened when Michael began assuming variations of the move. Sometimes he would angular at different angles. Sometimes he would hold the position longer. Sometimes he would move his accoutrements or arch while maintaining the absurd posture. Each variation appropriate months of practice and absolute automated adjustments. Michael wasn't aloof assuming a trick. He was administering a symphony of physics, engineering, and artistry. The most dangerous moment came during a 1992 concert in Bucharest. A malfunction in the date apparatus acquired one of Michael's shoes to stick in the engaged position. He was bound in the angular with no way to acknowledgement upright. For 30 terrifying seconds, Michael maintained his accord while his aggregation frantically worked to chargeless him. The admirers thought it was a continued aesthetic choice, but backstage, anarchy erupted as engineers tried to boldness the crisis. Michael finally freed himself through a combination of absolute bottom movements and arduous willpower, but the incident led to all-encompassing assurance modifications, the technology acquired throughout Michael's career. After versions included emergency absolution mechanisms and wireless ecology systems that allowed technicians to clue the status of anniversary shoe in absolute time. The shoes themselves became added sophisticated, incorporating failing abstracts and improved ergonomics. Michael formed with aerospace engineers to optimize the weight administration and antithesis points. Dennis Tompkins appeared years after that he had created over 40 different versions of the appropriate shoes during Michael's career. Anniversary brace was custom-fitted and counterbalanced for Michael's specific anatomy. The shoes were so precisely calibrated that no one else could abrasion them effectively. Even Michael's advancement dancers had their own custom-adapted versions, anniversary adjusted for their alone analysis mechanics and performance style. The abstruse was so closely attentive that best of Michael's own aggregation didn't apperceive how the move worked. Camera operators were told to avoid assertive angles that adeptness reveal the mechanism. Lighting designers were instructed to actualize caliginosity that would further abstruse the bottom positioning. Even abounding of the advancement dancers didn't fully accept the technology they were using. They were artlessly accomplished the exact accomplish and accession required. Michael acquired patents for the shoe mechanism in 1993, anecdotic it as a method and agency for creating anti-gravity illusion. The patent drawings appearance the intricate engineering involved, but alike today, few people realize that these abstracts exist. The patents were filed beneath Tompkins' name at Michael's request, ensuring that the secret would abide hidden alike in public records. The move appeared in Michael's final planned performances for This Is It. Rehearsal footage shows Michael at age 50 still active the lean with the aforementioned abnormal adroitness he had bedeviled decades earlier. The mechanism had been adapted with modern materials and engineering, but the fundamental adeptness of the design remained unchanged. Michael was planning to accomplish the move for a new generation of admirers who would acquaintance the same sense of admiration that had captivated audiences for over 20 years. After Michael's passing, several museums and collectors acquired pairs of his special shoes. But after the corresponding stage mechanisms and Michael's precise technique, they remained simply expensive artifacts. The National Museum of American History in Washington, D.C. has a brace on affectation with a placard that mentions the avant-garde footwear design, but doesn't acknowledge the full truth of how they worked. Today, modern performers still can't recreate Michael's anti-gravity lean. CGI and special furnishings can simulate the move for films and videos, but live performance of the accurate lean remains absurd after Michael's secret technology. Ball. Schools teach approximations of the move, but nothing comes abutting to the affecting 45-degree angle that Michael achieved. The move has inspired endless imitations, tributes, and attempts at explanation. YouTube is filled with videos of bodies aggravating, to recreate the lean, usually catastrophe and painful falls. Physics agents use Michael's move to authenticate principles of antithesis and centermost of gravity. Engineers abstraction the patents to understand the automated innovation involved. But conceivably, the most remarkable affair about Michael's anti-gravity angular is that it perfectly embodied his access to entertainment. It wasn't abundant to sing beautifully or dance skillfully. Michael capital to create moments of authentic impossibility, experiences that would accomplish audiences question absoluteness itself. The angular was physics and balladry combined, engineering and adeptness unified in a single impossible moment. The move represents everything that fabricated Michael Jackson extraordinary. His abnegation to accept limitations, his alertness to invest years in perfecting a distinct moment, his collaboration with ablaze technicians and designers, his adeptness to hide incredible complication abaft apparent simplicity, and, best importantly, his dedication to creating abracadabra that would inspire admiration for generations. Every time Addition attempts the angular and fails, they're advertent what Michael always knew, that accurate abracadabra requires not aloof aptitude and vision, but also innovation, preparation, and the courage to baffle the impossible. The anti-gravity lean wasn't aloof a ball move. It was a perfect allegory for Michael Jackson himself, a man who banned to be bound by the limitations that constrain ordinary bodies, who begin means to transcend force itself in following of perfect artistry. The anti-gravity lean remains one of the best incredible innovations in ball history. A perfect admixture of physics, engineering, and authentic adeptness that alone Michael Jackson could accept, conceived, and executed. If this adventure afraid you, as much as it afraid me, accomplish abiding to hit that subscribe button and the notification alarm so you never miss another Abaft the Fable episode. Give this video a thumbs up if you finally understand why you could never recreate this move at home. And let me apperceive in the comments what added seemingly impossible Michael Jackson moments you'd like me to investigate. Share this with any Michael Jackson admirers who charge to know the accuracy abaft the king of pop's most abstruse move. Until a budding time, keep the fable alive.